leadership positions, we've got a 50-50 split on our SLT, which is really great to see. We've made really positive strides with regards to our gender pay gap, far exceeding what we had hoped that we would achieve by this point. And we've seen a rapid increase in the number of female professors and females in leadership roles within our professional services. We know that there's still a lot of work to do, both within the university and more broadly. So we're really excited to have this opportunity to celebrate International Women's Day with you all. I know it's a busy time for everybody. I know it's busy for our speakers, and I know it's busy for staff here. And unfortunately, we've chosen a day where there's a lot of review meetings happening around redesign. So sorry about that. If we pulled you out of it and it was a good excuse not to be there, I'm glad that we could give you that excuse. But sorry to our speakers that unfortunately more people couldn't come because of the timing. But I know that everyone here is really excited to hear what you have to say. And the event is being recorded so that it will be made available to a wider audience after this. I just realised that whole thing without introducing myself, so apologies. I am Camilla, I'm the Deputy Pro-Vice Chancellor here for EDIB, a role that I've been delighted to have for the last year. Without me talking any further, I'll just give you a little overview of what's going to happen now. We are going to have our 4 speakers are going to give a little bit of an introduction to themselves. I've had a chance to look at slides and hear some of the stories, so I know that they're going to be really insightful and provide some great opportunities for reflection around yourselves and your own career development. And then Amira is going to host a panel discussion for us. Well, there'll be some questions from Amira, but we'll also welcome questions from the audience. So whilst you're listening to the stories, please do get your thinking hats on around anything else you would like to know more about. At the end of the event, if people are able to scrape some more time away from work, there's still tea, coffee, lots of fruit, etc. upstairs, and we would love to be able to continue any conversations. But I also recognise that people may need to rush off as well. So, without further ado, I am delighted to introduce Hannah, who is making sure she's got the right photo. Got it? Perfect. And once Hannah's spoken, we'll just let the speakers lead into each other if that works. So, Hannah, it's over to you.
Okay, so I'm this there. This is useless anyway. That's cool. Can you take a photo? This one. For LinkedIn. Thank you. Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so how do I go across the slides? Is it like that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So hello everyone. My name's Hannah, and I'm from Bowla, the role, and this is my talk for the Women on the Move thingy-mabob that we're all here for. So firstly, just an introduction of my slides, what we'll be going through. So a bit about me, what is Bowla, our story, what keeps me moving, my biggest lessons that I've learned, and staying in touch. So firstly, I'm Hannah, I'm 25 years old. I am the founder and director with my dad of Bowla, the role. I've been doing that technically since May 2022, but our business wasn't trading until 2023. Before that, I was in Swansea University doing a master's in engineering, leadership and management, and then before that I did a degree in physics in the University of Bristol. So firstly, what is Bowla? So Bowla is the bowler hat-shaped loaf of bread, and then you take the top off. I haven't done this one yet. You take the top off, you have a bread bowl, the bread roll, and then this bread bowl can take any filling or mopped up with a buttered roll. Yeah, so just a current snapshot of my business. So it's a father-daughter run business. The bowler hat bread is my dad's idea. He is the innovator of the loaf and the inventor of the mould to which to create the loaf. So he's got a patent on the mould, trademarks on the names, etc., etc. We say that we're family run, but recently in the past 6 months we've taken on 2 part-time members of staff as well, which is really exciting. We are currently based in Swansea Market Store 60. That is currently our base of operations. That's where we bake the bread. That's our primary point of sale. But other revenue streams come from Uber Eats delivery, Swansea Eats, markets, trade shows, and corporate lunches. That's quite a big one, corporate lunches. We're just under 2 years old. We celebrate our 2-year anniversary of trading April 2023, so next month, 3rd. And we've already accomplished so much in that time. It's been a bit crazy, honestly. So here's just some photos, just to kind of encapsulate some things that have happened. I'm just looking here because it's easy for me. So obviously the first photo was me and my family. That was in our first storefront. We've won a few awards. We've been on TV. I've met some famous faces. I've had my face on the side of a van on Swansea Uni on Bay Campus because of Big Ideas Wales. We've worked with a few like food innovation centres and like business support programmes and things like that over the 2 years. We've taken on 2 members of staff, Jamie and Fionn, and because of that I've been able to take on much bigger opportunities and also have a bit of a rest. Not what I normally do, but yeah. So our innovative sort of product, as well as our endearing backstory, has meant that we've had quite a lot of press at quite an early kind of stage in our business. So these are all within a year of trading, I'm pretty sure. So we've had a few in the British Bake, a few articles in the British Bake, which is quite a big deal in the bakery industry. We've had local press in like Swansea Bay News and Wales Online, but the biggest one is that we were on Channel 4's Aldi's Next Big Thing, April 2024, which was filmed July 2023. So I'll tell the story briefly because it is a lovely story. It's the reason we've had a lot of the opportunities we've had, and in all honesty, it's the reason why I deviated my sort of life path into joining my dad in this crazy venture of trying to sell Bowla hat-shaped loaves of bread. So basically my dad, back in 2007, I was 7 years old, I had nothing to do with this. My dad is a contract engineer. He works away at all the nuclear power stations across the country, and he happened to be up in Scotland in a nuclear power station, and he was staying in a caravan, and he thought, I'm going to make some bread. I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy myself a second-hand charity shop bread maker, and I'm going to make some bread. It had no instructions. He put way too much bread mix in the maker and put it on, left it go up, it went up and up and up and up and up. He took it out, and it created this, basically, a top hat loaf-looking loaf, basically. He took it into work and put it on the table as centerpiece, like in lunchtime, and then basically his manager, who was a Scottish person, came in and was like, oh, what's that? And my dad is very quick-witted. He said, oh, that's the Welsh top hat loaf. And then he was always like, what's that? And then my dad just kind of came up with this story, just saying about how in the Welsh mining communities, mothers or families would make this loaf, and the mother would pull out the centre, fill it with Welsh lamb cawl, and all the children would share the bread and dip it in, which obviously wasn't true, but was a very believable lie, and a couple of the people on the table were just like, yeah, that's true, whatever. A year later then, the same manager, he was on the same rotation, the same manager, his manager pulled him aside and was like, oh, my parents drove around the coastline of Wales looking for the Welsh loaf, which obviously didn't exist, and so from that point on, he was like, oh, maybe there's a market for this thing, like maybe something can happen from this. That was all the way back in 2008. I was 8 years old. I had nothing to do with this at that point. So from there then, so he's an engineer, as I mentioned. He started by welding bits of metal together, trying to create a smaller single serving portion of a hat loaf. So Bowla hat loaf also works with Bowla, a Bowla roll, a Bowla soup, a Bowla stew, a Bowla curry. It just made more sense. It kind of rolls off the tongue. And yeah, so basically years of trial and error. He welded bits of metal together. He had, lots of failings. This was all during having a full-time job and raising a young family. Like me and my sister were kids at this point, so he was back and forth across the country and also doing this and also trying to be a dad at the same time. In 2016, he had the first working mould prototype for the Bowla. He had the drawings done, and then he filed for a patent, and the project was shelved while the patent was going through. He was never going to start a business. He was sort of in his 40s, 50s. He would have been in his 50s at this point. He wasn't interested to start a business. He did this for himself. He did it to have made something, to have invented something. He wanted to be an inventor, and he is. So then 2020 comes. I was in Bristol in my second year of uni doing physics, nothing to do with baking, and lockdown comes. So I was meant to move home for 2 weeks. It ended up being 6 months. In this time, me and my dad went for hour-long walks pretty much every day, and I was hooked on the story that he'd tell, the stories, the anecdotes he'd tell about the work that had gone in. I was so inspired by just the sheer amount of work that this man had put in whilst working full-time and having a young family as well. Like, I couldn't believe that he had literally, made something. I was so impressed and inspired. It was COVID. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I said to him then, right, if you get this patent, I'll move home and I'll commit and I'll be the face. Because my dad didn't want to start a business. He didn't want to be the face. He didn't want any of the stuff that comes with running a business. He didn't want to run a business. So I did. So moved home then, I enrolled in Swansea University. I studied a Masters in Swansea Uni in Engineering, Leisure and Management, and I worked with the enterprise team while I was there, and I took every opportunity, I possibly could have. That photo there is of me at the big pitch. If any of you have worked with the enterprise team, there's a big pitch coming up in 2 weeks, which I'm judging, which is exciting. One of them, one of 4, I think. So yeah, that was me. So with the enterprise team then, I did the first big pitch. I won a mentor, 6 months of mentoring. I'm still in contact with my mentor now, 3 years later. He still emails me, we still have Zoom calls, he still shares my LinkedIn posts and things like that. And then the second time, when I was closer to trading, I won £3,000 of grant funding to go towards the setup, the startup costs. So then, yeah, so this is the first stall, so the hard work began. So September 2022, I left uni and I started working full-time on the business. And I was just researching, I was just doing everything I can. We decided to have a stall in Swansea Market, because we were told that it's a new product, we need to make sales. So really what I was told was basically find something to bake and then go to markets, go as many places as you possibly can. At the time my dad was going to help with the business, and so he was like, right, I want a bakery based on the point of sale and then we can do markets from there. And so that's what we had, so that was where we baked the bread initially. So we were trading in there from April 2023, and we closed it in July 2024, which is funny because now when I look back, that's not very long, but at the time it felt like such a long time. It's like, so then the hard work continues. So basically, we realised in, I'm going to say May, because we were on LT's Next Big Thing in April, so probably May then we decided that the store was not performing. We had corporate lunches, we were getting, like, most of our income was coming from corporate lunches, and then even like markets, and even Uber Eats was doing better than the shop, so we realised something was wrong. And then after a big family consultation, we all decided that it was probably, we literally moved 2 doors down. It's so funny when you think about it. We were here, and we moved 2 doors down, and we made this, and straight away sales doubled from day one. Like, from the first hour, I knew that I'd done the right thing. And obviously you can see that quite a lot of investment has gone into that, because we literally gutted the place. Like, we pulled all the walls out, the floor up, put a new ceiling in, built that wall in the middle, we built that, all the seats were built by hand. It was a lot of work, but it's paid off. Lovely. So what has kept me moving? So I am someone, I'm obsessed with pushing myself out of my comfort zone, hence why I'm stood here. So 5 years ago when I was having these conversations with my dad, I could barely make a phone call, let alone stand here and look at you all in the eyes and speak. I was totally inspired by my dad's story and his dedication to building something new, and I wanted to see it go to fruition. Holding on to positive responses to my product. So yeah, it was very slow in the shop. The first shop we had, it was not performing at all, but every other thing, social media, the markets, like every other thing, the press, everything we had, it was all lining up really well, but the shop wasn't performing. But I know every time I explained what this was, people would light up, and genuinely that helped me get through a lot of the stuff. Self-belief, feel the fear and do it anyway. I think that's a quote by, I want to say Mel Robbins, but I might be wrong. I repeatedly in the past 2 years really, I've actively put myself in situations that have made me uncomfortable with the hope of growing. That's just the type of person that I am. So here's just some photos. I didn't have time to like make slides on each one because I'm very busy, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm really lucky because that one's me on my first day. Very young, very naive. I thought you open a business and everyone just comes in and that was the end of it, but no, that is not true. There's a whole thing called marketing I didn't know about. Hang on, I think I've missed something. No, we're all good. Yeah, so basically in the first year, I had so much support from my friends and family. So in the second photo there, that's one of my close friends, Jake. That's a Sunday in July, and we did Mumbles Market, and he got up with me at 5 o'clock in the morning and went to Swansea Market to pick up all the stuff. We went and we sold out in a few hours. That's my partner there, like helping with stuff. Like there's so many like things. My family there, my sister, my boyfriend, and my sister's partner. Like we went to Stratford-on-Avon. Like so, and even like the painting, building the store. Like my family really helped. I've had loads of opportunities from Swansea Uni, even though I've left. Like I'm constantly having emails in my inbox about things to do with the university, which is fantastic. We're on TV, which is fab. I've mentioned that. We've taken on 2 part-time members of staff. I did the NatWest Accelerator programme. That's just finished. That was really, really helpful as well. That was all free to the consumer. Recently, I've decided that I want to be a business consultant when I'm older. So I've recently done a small freelance job facilitating a pre-start business bootcamp in Carmarthenshire. That job was 4 weeks long, like 10 hours a week, and it was kind of like an initiation, and I passed the initiation, so I get to do other ones, which is really fab. That bottom photo there is the NatWest Accelerator programme. That's the Christmas party, and then that's me with my online postals, because we also post breads online as well. So, biggest lessons I've learned, they will kind of come into the photos as well. So building a business takes time, energy, and sometimes money. The money thing is controversial because some businesses don't cost any money. You can set up a business for free, but mine did cost a lot of money. It's just one of those examples where it did. It takes time to build all of like every single thing that you need to do. Like there's a list as long as my arm of things that I want to do that I will get to, but it's just about chipping away every single day, just making small monuments. Like you don't realise how much can be done like in a day. Like, well, not much can be done in a day, but like when you look at 2 years and just doing something small every single day for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, like you can really build something amazing. Having supportive friends and family really helps. There's a lot of soul support, if not anything else, because in my experience, none of my family and friends have started businesses. I'm the only person who's started a business in my family and friends. They don't get it, they don't understand that it's always on my mind and I'm always on the brink of burnout, but they try, and that's really important, because I know I've seen on TikTok recently, like, someone said that they'd been kicked out of their house because they were starting a business because they didn't want to be a doctor, and like I didn't have any of that pressure. I put the pressure on myself, so yeah, and there's also way more support than you think, particularly when you're a student. Like I worked with Big Ideas Wales, Business Wales, even Welsh Ice has a lot of support. Swansea Uni has a lot of support from the enterprise team. They're really like tight-knit, intricate community, and like they're really personable. So if you are looking to start a business, then like now is the time. There's no better time, and there's never a best time, never a good time. So plans for the future. So I actually wrote these slides. I've recycled these slides from last year, and this is what I wrote last year, and I kept it in because like a few things have changed, but not much. So we'd love to see Bowla go national and possibly global. So a year ago, I was building an online shop to launch for Aldi's next big thing, because basically there's 7.5 million viewers nationwide. If you watch the show, we're on there for about 3 minutes, and it did not, like it wasn't a negative thing, but it just didn't explain exactly what we were and what we were trying to achieve, because obviously, you know, and so it wasn't the kind of exposure that I thought it was going to be. I don't have time to like probably go into that, but if you want to ask me about, like, you are welcome to. License our painted mould and branding, that's still true to an extent, possibly franchise, still true to an extent, and then domestic moulds for people who like to bake them at home. So on TikTok I'm having a lot of comments and messages saying, oh, can I buy the mould? And I'm like, no, they're £300 each, you can't. So yeah, now, I could have done like I could have written an essay on this slide, but I haven't. It's all pretty much the same, so we would still like to see Bowla go national if not global. The only difference now is that I actually have somewhat of a roadmap on how I'm going to get there. So we're currently looking to supply stadiums. Again, if you want to ask me about that, you absolutely can. Again, license our painted mould and branding to bakeries, possibly to co-work in the beginning, then maybe build our own kind of infrastructure in the future. Possibly franchise still, again, it's kind of there, but it's not there. And then, yeah, much longer term, we'd be going to retail, have Bowlas in supermarkets, have them in farm shops, and then have the domestic moulds available for purchase. Staying in touch. So yeah, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn. I do that more as like for myself. I know and I really enjoy it. I've had a lot of opportunities, including the job I was from my Welsh Ice. I got that from LinkedIn. I posted my CV on LinkedIn, and within 2 hours I had the job offer. And I went to a bakery conference last week in North Wales, and I'm not joking, about 20 people knew who I was from LinkedIn. Like, just because I wear yellow everywhere I go, and I always have a bread with me, and you know, like it does. I thought for like the first year or so, I thought I was just kind of talking to a wall, like just screaming into space, but it does work. So yeah, so please connect with me on LinkedIn. And I think that's everything. Yeah, please follow Bowla on Instagram and TikTok as well. Shameless plug. And yeah, that's it. Any questions? I hope that was 10 minutes. I hope that was not too long.
No, that was great.
everyone, I'm Crystal and I'm going to try and stay within 10 minutes. I am quite passionate about what I talk about, so I'll do my best. But my presentation is empowering women one mindset at a time. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and my journey and my plans for the future in the business that I have. Okay, so I'm Crystal, and I start with a shy girl who never believed in herself. So grew up always thinking that I was shy and always following this narrative. So using this story to comfortably say no to opportunities that came up for me, because it was quite easy to do that because shy people don't do those types of things. And I've tried lots of things during my career. So I used to make candles. I've always had sideline businesses. So I've worked at the uni for 20 years in various roles. And I've always had sidelines because I've really enjoyed trying new things, using my skills in a different way and making a bit of money on the side. So I used to make candles. I was made redundant when I had my first baby. So I was working for a Welsh Government project. And this led me to retrain as a freelancer. So that was my second business that I started as a social media freelancer, helping companies to grow their presence online. I've been a mentor for social services for 4 years, so that was another volunteering role that I had, mentoring young girls under social care orders. And I am a mum to 2 girls, and my career of marketing has spanned 20 years. So actually my last role was head of international marketing at the university, which I left last year. I was made redundant again, which quite empowering really. I took it myself, I made the decision. So yeah, I've been made redundant twice during maternity leave, and that's quite interesting because it does force you into action, into thinking, what am I going to do and how am I going to make the best of myself? And right now I'm a mindset coach. So I help women to overcome self-doubt and fear so they can be confident in their abilities and feel good about being visible in their careers, in going for jobs, promotions, leadership, projects, but also women who run their own businesses but are very afraid of putting themselves out there, of being the face of their business, understanding their value and really being comfortable in owning their space. So as I said, as a child I was labelled as shy and lacking in confidence, and when you grow up with those things that people say to you when you are young, your value system is established by the age 7. So your peers, your family, your teachers, societal conditioning as a whole, as women, we hear things consistently. Be humble, don't be too loud, know your place. All of these things that we've learned as we grow up, when we become an adult, they're subconsciously still there. So they do stop us from doing things that we want to do for ourselves and going for our dreams. And when you've got that story about yourself, my story was that I was really shy and not confident. A large part of my role was standing up and doing presentations like this. And I hated it. You know, the irony was that I worked in marketing for 20 years. And when I used to stand up and had to talk to people like this, I'd sweat, I'd get the shakes, my voice didn't sound like me and it wouldn't come out. And I experienced this for years and years and years, to the point where I started taking tablets to reduce my heart rate so that I could stand up and speak in front of people, so that it made me feel okay. And then I realised that's not okay to do that, because it did leave me feeling exhausted by the end of it. So this story around self-doubt and fear, it stopped me from doing well at interviews. It stopped me from feeling worthy of going for promotions, being able to stand up and talk in front of people. And when you've got that story that is playing over and over again, then it's really easy to say no to things, because saying no is your brain's way of keeping you comfortable and safe. Because when you do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for you, your brain goes into flight or fight mode, and it thinks it's a bit like if you were to jump off a cliff. Your body doesn't know the difference. It feels dangerous. Therefore, your mind will tell you not to do it because it's easy to do that. So quite often I had this on a loop and I kept myself feeling really small and self-sabotaging. But then I realised that life is too short to wait. So 5 years ago, I experienced a lot of pain. I lost my mum, and it was, as you can imagine, an extremely painful time in my life. And during that time, I did a lot of soul searching and really understanding why is it as women that we hold ourselves back from things, and why can't we just go out there and get what we want? And really witnessing what happened with my own mother made me realise that life is there for the taking, and there are opportunities that we need to be going out, and it is our mind that is stopping us from doing this, and it's our thoughts and our belief system. So what if we can rewrite some of that? What if we can think better thoughts? So I started looking into this, got really interested in neuroplasticity, in rewiring the mind and creating new neural pathways, and I retrained then as a mindset coach. And this is one of the stats that I learned, is that around 80% of our thoughts are negative, whether we believe that or not, whether we understand it and realise it, but we have up to 50,000 thoughts daily. So imagine that on a loop. If you're not aware of those thoughts, how are those thoughts sabotaging you and your goals and your dreams? So 5 years ago, another sideline, because I love sideline businesses, I retrained as a mindset coach, and I learned a lot about neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and all these amazing modalities that you can use to rewire your mind for success. What I realised is that what you've been told from a young age, you think that's your personality and you think that's who you are, but actually you can strip those layers of societal conditioning away. And when you do that, it's really empowering, because you get to be the person that you want to be. You don't have to be what society tells you that you are, what your family and friends and people have led you to believe. So it's just deciding what you want, and aligning your environment and your habits, your thoughts and your behaviours to be able to become that person and achieve that for yourself. So when I was on maternity, perfect synchronicity, I've always wanted to set up a community for women, to empower women, to bring women together, to realise that they can go for their dreams. And somebody introduced me to a lady on maternity leave, and we had exactly the same qualifications. She actually lived 5 minutes up the road from me, and she was a business consultant, Helen, in the picture. And within 15 minutes of chatting, we set up this second business together. We had values that were so in alignment with each other. We got on really well, and we both wanted the same for women. We wanted to create an empowering space. So we set up She Thrives, and She Thrives is a monthly event that happens in Mumbles for women with their own businesses, but also we get a lot of women from the university who come as well, so professional women who want to listen to other women and the projects, the businesses they've set up. It's an inspiring space to be in, and we set it up initially as a networking event, and actually it's become so much more than that. It's become a community where we lean on each other, there are friendships, there are people starting businesses as a result, and we are looking at how we can accelerate this, take it into different cities, and also how we can accelerate the growth of those women who come to the event. Because what we've noticed is that the women who come, there are some who will still say my little business, and we are trying to change the narrative around that. It's not your little business. We are women with families, we're balancing so many things in our lives, and we're all making an impact through what we're doing, and that needs to be recognised. So what keeps me moving forward? Well, I love talking about mindset, I love empowering women. I think I've always loved it since working in the social care role with the young girls as well. These are the top 5 reasons that women feel like they should not be seen and heard. And these are the reasons why I do what I do, because I've got a 16-month-old baby, I've got a 10-year-old girl, and I want them to know that their voices matter, that they can take up space in this world, and they can have an impact through their voice, through their decisions, and they don't need to apologise for that. One of my favourite sayings is you can't be what you can't see. So I would invite everybody to think about how self-doubt might be holding you back from achieving something that you want to achieve in your life, and what stories and beliefs you can start changing to become the person that you really strive to be. And this is my Instagram if you'd like to keep in contact with me, and my website. Like I say, I do coaching for women in the workplace, interview coaching. I got a few clients in here today as well, everyone. And I coach women with their own businesses as well. So yeah, please do connect with me on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well, and that's my website. Thank you.
We will keep going along. And I'm excited to introduce Youmna as she makes her way up.
Oops. Hello everyone, I'm super excited to be here. So as Camille has presented, my name is Youmna Mouhamad, and I'm the founder of Nyfasi, a brand with an invention that is there to really facilitate the care of textured hair, so from curly to afro textured hair. But today really I'm not really gonna focus about the business, I'm gonna tell you more about the story, about how this business could have not existed. So for that, I need to give you a bit of context. So I'm from this very small island in the Indian Ocean between Madagascar and Mozambique. And Mayotte has the specificity of being French. And actually, compared to the 3 other islands around it that actually choose to actually not remain French. And so being French was a huge part of my identity. So when age 8, my parents decided to move to France, I was super excited. I was like, I'm going where I belong. And arrived just like, ta-da! Silence. It's like, but you're not really French. You're black. And that was like quite a defining moment for me, because it's like, how do you build your identity when something that is so fundamental to you actually being taken away? It's not like you choose to let it go, but you kind of like, no, you can't have that. And so in addition to that, I was being raised in quite a traditional family structure. So I was quite like, dynamic. I wanted to do sport, but it's like, oh no, you can't do that. Girls don't do that, And it's like, I used to say often, I wish I was a boy. I wish I was a boy. And I really did wish. It shows in the way I dressed and many different things. But the one thing I knew that education was really going to be my key. I saw it as, a way to change, to create opportunities for education. And so, and I just put all my energy into my education. I ended up getting a baccalaureate in science and actually going to university in France to do engineering. The thing in France, when you do engineering, you don't need to be only good in engineering, you need to speak English, because everything, all papers and most research are in English. And I failed beautifully because of my English. And so I decided, this is it. I'm gonna take my revenge on Shakespeare's language. 2 years later, somehow I found myself in Leeds University actually doing a BSc, an Erasmus year in Leeds University. And actually, that also was a defining moment, because when I arrived in Leeds, at the Leeds airport, there was a massive billboard, and it was an Asian man. Living in France all of these years, I had never seen a billboard with either a black or, an Arabic person, because those are the two major ethnic minority people. And I was like, oh my God, we exist. And it just gave me that sense that, I can be here and actually strive, and nobody can stop me. And that's exactly what I did. I got my master's, I got my PhD. Something very particular happened when I got the final of my PhD. I moved in with this little family. There was a little girl called Hazelland. Hazelland has this thick afro texture, think a bit of Diana Ross, yeah. And every Monday, every week, it will be like, oh, mommy, I want my hair to be straight, And she'll be crying when her mommy's doing her hair. And so I kind of like started to think, okay, I'd love to actually to do something to enable her to actually enjoy her haircare experience, in the hope that it actually enable her to actually love her hair. And so that's pretty much the desire that was in my head. I minded my own business, carried on, got my PhD, came to Swansea University. I was a research engineer working for WCPC and also specific in the field of printed electronic. Loved it. I used to have a hashtag actually every morning, like, I love my job. All my family hated me every Monday morning. Because it was all about R&D, creating ideas, solving problems. But very quickly, what I loved turned out to something that I just couldn't take anymore. Because as an academic, after the research, you need to write it. And I took no joy into writing papers. It was very much the opposite. And it was the massive realization, oh my God, I'm climbing the wrong tree. This is not where I want to be. And just like, so what do I do? Then I realized that I'm actually getting paid to solve problems. So why not solve a problem that mattered to me? So I went back to Hazel's problem. And then went back to something that my mom used to do when I was a kid. So where we are from, like, we are under the tropics, high temperatures. She'll have a glass of water, she'll put a bit of oil inside, and then she'll dip the comb in the glass and water, and then detangle. Dip the comb and then detangle, which made the whole process less painful. And I was like, why not create something that does what mom used to be, but in a much more simple, neater way? I was like, yeah. I asked my friend, do you think it's a great idea? I got my sister, do you think, yeah, it's a great idea, it's a great idea. And it stayed an idea for literally 2 years. Because although from outside I had all of the skill set to bring this idea, I didn't have the confidence and the clarity about why this business was important to me. And yet I knew every time I look at myself in the mirror that there was more to me and there was more that I wanted to give to the world. And so I committed. I just decided to actually try to understand, kind of like fight this little wall that was in front of me. And somehow in that phase of my life, everything was kind of like crumbling. I went to a very kind of like a dark phase between, not knowing what I want to do, not being happy with what I'm doing at work, and actually quite lots of loneliness when you're a young professional working in a small town like Swansea without a family. And so, and I was quite down quite often. I was just like, okay, I need to find a way to manage. So the first thing I did is like, I need to find a way to manage this sadness. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna dance. And I'm not gonna listen to any songs that actually, in any language that I understand, because I just need to feel better. So I was dancing everywhere. I'll be by the beach, I'll be dancing. By the bus stop, I'll be dancing. At the labs, it's like, oh my gosh, she's so happy. I'm like, no, it's either I dance or I cry. And it kept on for quite a while, and I got better. Those sad feelings, I managed them. But actually, it wasn't sustainable because I was dancing so much that I was too tired to even have the energy to actually start a business. I was like, okay, I need to find a better way to do this. And I started doing things like affirmation. I look at myself in the mirror, oh, Youmna, you're beautiful. Youmna, you're clever. Youmna, you're capable. But very often, soon, I got and realizing that actually affirmation is almost like you're putting, how do you call that? A cover on an wounded heel. It's more or less like, I felt like at that time I was pretending because the deep work wasn't done. I was like, this is not working. I started listening to motivational speakers. Lisa, Nicole, Les Brown, Miles Monroe, every morning. I was like, yeah, today's the day, yes. Energized, pumped up. But actually, I felt energized at that moment, but my mindset hadn't changed. So my behavior didn't change, hence the result of my life. I was like, I need to go deeper. I started seeing a counselor. And in that phase, it was really good because it taught me actually how to put words into everything that was going on and that was very much not aware of. But I felt it was very much of a disempowering experience because the message I was getting, it was like, oh, but Youmna, it's normal if you feel the way you feel because this and this happened. And so I was like, but how do I change the result? Because this is not who I want to be. And I decided to stop the counseling because it was not empowering. And I just went by my life, and then one day, I ended up say yes to actually challenging myself and saying to everything I wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do was to teach a dance class. I was like, yes. I started in a studio, and then they were looking for people to do a flash mob. I found myself at the World Synod doing a flash mob on International Women's Day. And the beauty of that, I was just like, okay, we did the flash mob. It's like, they were like high achieving women. I was like, I'm taking the day off. I'm gonna sit down and learn from this woman. And the last speaker was a life coach. And it was such a transformative thing just to hear that talk. And I realized that this is what I need in my life. And it took me some time to commit to the finance because for people who do coaching, it's a lot of money, but there is no regret. In that place, I really got to really discover the true me. despite removing all society expectation, as as explained earlier, you know. And so I felt like I was an onion and just being peeled, and just when you think you arrive and you're just not there yet, and I'm not there yet, and we never get there yet, because as life evolves, whether we are evolving from being different phases of our professional life or personal life, we have to tap into different spaces of who we are. And so, but what I discovered there is like the first thing I discovered, I speak about the trauma of racism. What I didn't realize as a young child, being in this environment where I felt rejected, is that I built this mindset as like, oh, so you think I cannot make it? I'm gonna show you. And so it was like striving, but it was not striving for. It was striving to prove. It was striving against. And that is not sustainable, because it's almost like you're seeking that struggle to push yourself back into that state of keep pushing. And the older mindset that I'd kind of like realized into that space, it had led to a mindset of like, I'm never going to be supported, or because I'm a black woman. And so realizing all of that, I just decided, you know, first it's allowed me to actually address and realize that that was actually, there is such a thing, our trauma of racism. And realizing that, making the choice that, you know, I know society is gonna be what it is. I might face racism, but I make the personal choice to now enter every space expecting to be loved, expecting to be supported. And if life chooses, or an individual chooses to actually behave differently, then I will actually decide what I'm gonna do in that case. But I refuse to carry that extra burden on the top of what life offers me. And that was so liberating, especially as an entrepreneur in the world of fundraising and so on and so forth. The next one that I actually discovered is actually quite relevant for the day that we are here today, is actually, I was lying to myself. I was part of Athena Swan with Camilla, going to places and telling to young women, yeah, you can make it in science, you know, you can succeed. But I got to realize that actually, something, an anecdote, I was in my PhD, I was late, and that day I was wearing earrings and lipstick. And as I'm running, always late, I see myself in the mirror, and I was like, oh my God, are they gonna take me seriously, arriving late with lipstick and earrings? I panicked. I went to the toilet, removed my lipstick, removed my earring, and rushed to my meeting. And I was like, you know, what was that about? And I knew it was wrong, but I overlooked it. What I got to understand in the field when I started actually going deeper and trying to understand, it was like I was suppressing my femininity. Because not only in the environment that I was, there was not much diversity doing physics. I was doing physics specifically, but also engineering led on. But also there was more than that. There was more to the story. Behind the environment, it was also my personal story. You see, when I meant to say, I wish I was a boy, it didn't mean I wanted to be a boy. It meant that I wanted to be respected, I wanted to be heard, and I wanted to be seen like my brothers. And so that, and the addition of the reality of not having lots of women in that field, led me to actually subconsciously to think that I needed to suppress, to have more masculine trait. Maybe I need to speak louder, to be firmer and be less compassionate, let's be empathic. But actually you're almost fighting your nature of who you are. And so how can you succeed in anything you're trying to achieve if you're spending half of your time just fighting who you are? And the last one that was such a mind-blowing and big realization is actually why I was not starting the business. You see, where I'm from, you are expected by the age of 25 to get married, have babies, and build a family. And it's not like I didn't want, and by then I was 33, so I had passed my date time very, very long time ago, and the pressure was really coming in. And it's like, it's not like I didn't want, but the right person wasn't there, and I had this idea. But so the fact is that, and I knew that if I did what my parents want, I'll have to go back home. But the expertise is not there. My network is not there. And so I knew that going back home will be actually giving up on this idea. But at the same time, and subconsciously, I didn't realize that my thought was like, if I choose the business, I'm a bad daughter. I'm disappointing my parents. And so I do one step towards the business, and I do 10 back. And we just kind of like this dance until the day I realized that why is this business? Realize why I was actually feeling myself putting in this situation. But then beyond that is understanding why is this business important for me. beyond bringing joy to the haircut experience of a little girl like years old. So let me just explain to you how the product works. You open it, you feel it's your haircare product. And as you detangle, this roller here rotates, apply what is on the comb to the hair, and the local lubrication to the tangle make the whole magic and the tears disappear. And you're actually saving time, and the kid has a great experience. So I was like, I want to build a generation of little girls like Hazel that actually love her hair. That's what I want to do. But I decided to go further than that. I decided that 5% of the profit of Nyfasi will go to coach on the individual. By the time I started my self-development journey and understanding who I was 33. From outside, like, oh, she's a success. She's a researcher in a university and an engineer. But actually, there was no peace. There was no confidence. And how many of us are actually going through life, actually looking, but actually what we feel inside is so completely different. So this business for me is really the way I choose to actually give back. And so for anybody that is considering to actually start a business, I really think it's essential to really do that deep work, because the walls, the difficulty, the rejections, the discrimination, whether you are regardless of all the different identities that we have, are gonna come. You have to be sturdy to take it in and not being too shaken to the point that you're actually out of your roots are removed and you're no longer at peace. Because if you're not standing strong, then how can you keep going? So my question to those that are potentially looking to start a business is, who are you? Who do you want to be? What are the beliefs that might be not empowering you? And maybe why that specific business? Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me.
And last but definitely not least, I'm excited to introduce Louise, who, fingers crossed, is going to your next slide.
I don't know how to follow that. I mean,
Okay.
so,
Or if you click
Oh.
your link.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then here we go. And then,
Okay. Thank you.
there we go. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So, totally different type of presentation. All three of us have been really different today. And I've done like a little sad emoji face because I am in marketing, and marketing never, like having 10, I'm trying to do 10 slides in 10 minutes, which is really hard for anyone in marketing. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to myself, talk about ownership of businesses, how small actions and progress, which is a lot what our speakers have talked about today, I really relate to some of that, success measures, business goals versus personal goals, so I call them happy goals, building a brand, value proposition, growth and upscale, resource, and then what I think finally matters, having been through the process recently. So just as a brief introduction, my name is Louise. Normally there is obviously myself in the business, but there is another person as well who is Jess, and there's us at the top right. And my background, Jess is from Cardiff, but I am a Swansea girl. I am from Morrison Comprehensive School. I went to West College, and then what is now Trinity, but was the School of Art there. Art was what I excelled at school. It was the subject that I really was good at drawing, and I went to Bristol then to study illustration. I loved Bristol as a city, so I stayed there for 12 years, and I fell into marketing. I kind of, after if you do it, it's different now. I appreciate, with lots of social media platforms to kind of display those visuals like illustration, but I just felt like it was going to be really hard to make a career and make money out of illustration, and the graphic design, marketing felt like the right thing. So I was really fortunate. I'm not sure if I recognised it quite at the time, but I fell into corporate banking
it's a big yawn. But I don't know if anyone knows Triodos Bank, and they are incredible. Like, I was there for 9 years. I absolutely loved my job as a marketing coordinator, and then I went to a marketing officer. I had lots of opportunity, and it was kind of like a re-education because it's about ethical banking. They're in the Netherlands, they're in Germany. It allowed me to travel a little bit, but still have a base in Bristol. Values-led organisation, so anyone, I still feel really passionate about my experience and thankful for that at Triodos, and just having like good role models around that were in that mindset of values, which is always talked about now, but back 15 years ago, it wasn't really kind of, businesses weren't in that frame of mind of putting their mission and values before anything else. Then after 9 years, I decided a new challenge. So anyone who kind of gets marketing, you've obviously got in-house marketeers, and then you often have agencies that you work with. I went into an agency, which I never thought I would. And then I was, I was really fortunate. I went into a marketing director role, so I was senior in the organisation. Had my second child, went back into the workplace, and I just didn't feel right when I went back. There was just something, the dynamics, having been out of it for a year. But I thought, it's me. I'm the one who's changed. The first day I got back into to my marketing director role, I was told that I had to make the half of the marketing team redundant. I was like, I am not HR, I am marketing. I don't do that kind of, where do you even start when you make redundant? So I was quite emotional about that, tried not to, but realised that, and then I suspected that I was probably going to be next at some point. And then, 8 months later, I had a call, and it was just a very on the spot, like, you are redundant, you are. But I kind of felt a relief from that process, because I was in that role for the 8 months that I was after I went back, and I kind of was like, I knew I didn't really belong there anymore anyway. So although it was kind of a, redundancy is a very personal thing anyway. Personally, for me, I just felt like a relief, and I felt excited after a couple of weeks of just, the worry financially and that kind of thing. And then, so that was January 23, and then 3 months later, I launched the Cusp, which is what I'm going to talk about today. So I've mentioned Jess, who's normally here. I think for us, Jess and I worked together in the marketing agency for 8 years together, and I just knew, I just spotted her straight away in terms of her work ethic, working hard, somebody who just had her values in order, who I could trust. We worked really well as a team. Any kind of success we had in the agencies, if we were winning business, winning pitches, it would be always with Jess, because she had my back and I had hers, and it was always positive. So when this redundancy, and I did start it on my own initially, I was kind of like, if I could accelerate this, if I do it with somebody. So I had a chat with Jess when she was still working at the company. She hadn't been made redundant. And then a week later, she sent me a screenshot of an email, and she was like, I've put in my resignation. I was like, what? Like, you believe what I've told you, that I'm gonna, I showed her some plans that I had. So I felt a bit of responsibility about that, because she was on good money, and I was just like, geez, okay. So yeah, and it is about matching that, and we're totally opposite, complementary skill sets. We have just so different. And then, so the Cusp is a marketing agency. Now that is not very different. When I'm listening to the speakers today, I'm kind of like, you've all got unique products and services. Marketing agency, advertising, it's like, there's lots of us around. So the difference is that I was like, okay, if we can't be different in the terms of products and services, it's the concept that we own this. And although a lot of marketing agencies and advertising agencies have a lot of females in, there is a massive lack of ownership, and that's what I experienced when I went to the agency I worked for. Top of the tree is men, dominantly, investors, and they are the ones who are profiting from that. So that was something that inspired me to be like, actually, we're bringing the business in, we're the ones that are winning the clients in, but we don't have, you know, we get incentives, but we're not actually owning anything here, and that was like my key driver. And since exploring that more, like the statistics are crazy how small ownership is. Like that's a really important word in this. And as I think all of the ladies today have said, is that those little actions within a week doesn't seem much, but you look back and you're like, geez. And there are people, I think, like I felt really self-conscious at first when I told people I was running my own business, because you're like, you know, you're just like, oh. At first it doesn't come very naturally, especially if you've been working for a big organisation and you've got their brand to kind of be in front. But as soon as you do it, and you can totally tell from friends and who get it and who don't get it as well, you know, there's a glaze sometimes, and you're like, no, I don't think you're going to get it, what I'm trying to say. So small actions do go far. When I wrote, I was dubious about putting this in. This has been, coincidentally, this has gone live today. But we turned over £1.2 million. I cannot even believe that I'm saying that. Because if we went into Dragon's Den, this would be a statistic, and then they would ask about net profit and margins. There's about 60% in that. So it's a really profitable business what we've created. But some of the, I think it's the next slide that I talk about this. Yeah. So some of the key things when we set up, if you're setting up with somebody or if you're going on your own, Jess encouraged this more than myself. She was like, okay, we're going to set business goals because we've got the, we've got to agree that legally between us for Company House. But what are our personal goals? So I'll just say this for the minute. There was a £500 grant from the Shared Prosperity Fund, which I think is still open. And it's kind of like you match it, and that was available. So I'll just leave that for a minute. But so some of the personal goals, of course, to set these goals and have like a really healthy gauge and KPIs on the company, like, you know, obviously like have a handle on growth, what margins, diversify the portfolio, not just go for one sector, because if one sector is wobbly, then that affects us as a business, our portfolio. To grow a debt-free agency, because we have seen so many agencies that grow out of loans, investment, and on month by month, when you're paying the bills out, it's like that, you know, thousands of pounds to a loan. So that was like really important to me, and I put that target in the personal one because that does affect me personally. If I were to start kind of putting my money into it, it would affect my personal life as well, and Jess's also. So we wanted to focus on stable foundations. From being senior roles in our existing roles, we were like, right, we're going to have to step back and have operational duties, which were, you know, we had come away from that, the doings of it. We were kind of used to having a team, so we've had to really step into those operational duties. But that has been great. Now we're upscaling because you're not having to kind of tell people, oh, you do this. I know exactly. I've been reminded of what I did when I first started working in marketing. Hard work, of course, like it is an uphill struggle, and you know, I've got 2 children, I've got a young family, that is like additional time and thought put into that. You know, I'm at a phase where I'm being pulled around a lot more, aspiring to be a job generator. So this was never designed to just be a consultancy, it was designed to generate jobs, particularly in Swansea. There's not huge amounts of agencies, creative marketing, copywriting jobs. So that was something that we really wanted to be. We wanted to be lean as a business, and then start to, when we wanted to hire people, it had to be financially justified. It wasn't like we're going to go out, get a 30 grand loan so we can give somebody a 30 grand job. That was not how we wanted it to be. It was getting, we are going to reach this point until we almost break, and then we get somebody in. And so far, that tactic has worked really well. Like, we've onboarded Marsha and Priyanka in the last 3 months, who are both incredible. and that's how we continue to grow. We've just gone out for another hire who will be hiring. We haven't started the process yet, but we will go through that. Having good clients, so in those early days you're kind of like, yeah, it's an opportunity, but you do realise after a while, it's like, is that a healthy client for us? Is it in their interest to be with us as much as it is for us to be with them? Not to scale too quickly. We've seen too many agencies go under financially from, like I say, just having massive debt, and you have to have a decent cash flow with what we're doing, because advertising is expensive, and that doesn't mean we are generating that necessarily, but you need to, if you've got a billboard can be like 30 grand, like easily, for like a set amount of billboards. So you need to have that kind of sensitivity in the balance books, that you've got that continual cash flow. And we wanted to obviously get paid, which was, Jess and I were opposite ends of this, so I was quite happy to just go, right, I'm not going to get paid for like a year, 2 years, and just put everything into the business. Jess was like, I think I want to get paid on month 3. And we were like, I was like, right, what, she was like, I don't want to get obviously the salary that she had been on, but like a little bit. So we've gradually been able to, and that was like a driver, like I had to recognise that was a driver for her, though I was kind of a bit more relaxed about it, and reward ourselves. And I don't mean that by financial rewards, I mean that by kind of like going for a meal together, or having, being like, oh, let's order a takeaway on the weekend for our families, or do something that's just like that little bit of reward when you're not quite where you want to be yet. So then so I had already started this process, but anyone who's built a brand, you have to build a brand that you feel really comfortable with, and you have to believe in yourselves first. And we have these conversations online. We do like this series called Marketing Heroes, and we spoke to the Tony's Chocolonely's like head of marketing, and something she said was like about the chocolate industry. She was talking. She was like, Tony's they zig when everyone else zags. So all chocolate is like purple. It's all like very Cadbury's, and they've like made the look. But then Tony's come in, and all of a sudden they are 3 times the price of Cadbury's, yet they're doing really, really well. But it's that decision in a supermarket to be like, oh, do I want to go for a Cadbury's chocolate or a Tony's chocolate? But it's 3 times more expensive. I'm going on a bit of a tangent with Tony's, but something she said was like, when you zig, everyone zag, and Tony's brand has done that. They've totally taken a gamble, and we wanted to do that with ourselves. We wanted a brand that we were really proud of. And being in marketing, we have there's just lots of ideas, but I think we've got something. Defining the value proposition. So anyone who's like starting to think about growing a business, I would say the first thing to do is the value proposition. So a very simple line would we help, and then who you help, do what you're there to do, and then what's your solution. And from that point then, what we did is we started to define our services. So we were like, oh, we're going to do programmatic ads, we're going to do PR, we're going to do some consultancy work, some video on demand, and you just start to but you have to get what the value is for you, and then you can start to be like, well, what's our USP? Why are we different from the competitors? I wanted to include this because I thought this would be really helpful for anybody who is not in marketing, or kind of like finding marketing a struggle, is marketing on a page concept, and it's just a matrix that you just fill in all on one page. So even if you're going for like business loans or business grants, you will always have to kind of give a perspective on what your marketing is, because it is your sales. So marketing on a page is a really good concept to kind of just note down and, just start to place out all the important factors in marketing to help you grow. So quite a lonely picture of Jess and I on one side, and then how we look as of a few weeks ago. So we've got Priyanka and Marsha, who are full-time employees, obviously Jess and myself, and then we've got some freelancers, and then there's a couple of interns, William and Caitlin, then who are from Swansea University. So we we've started to upscale, and this is where we're starting to make sure, you know, it's important, we've got the right people in place, right personalities, and I don't know, again, where because this is quite a mixed room. For Swansea University have massively helped us in respect of like the career boost scheme. So we have had all of these. This is a mix of not just Swansea Uni, but from Trinity and University of South Wales as well. But we have tons of students that come to us with different skills, different abilities, and they've all brought something. And then they've come through, as I say, the career boost scheme, which is bursary-led, or they've had to do modules and placements, and we've got quite good now at kind of being able to decide what kind of work to give somebody that will help us, and all of those students have really helped us lay foundations when we weren't able to like do a salary first of all. So anyone who is a business owner, I'd encourage you to look at the schemes available and the value of what internships and students, and it's a two-way thing. They get final slide. So I would say, you know, there is to have that window of clarity. My window of clarity was when I got made redundant, and I kind of could stop thinking about the company's goals and what they wanted to achieve. I started to think about the ideas just literally like ballooned. I just had lots of creative ideas about where I wanted it to go, and I just started to see it. Although I'd always kind of thought about it, this was where I started to become very real. And I hear this all the time, but like time and actions really do matter. Time is everything, and you know, there's little actions will build up to be a big picture. And then it is imperfectly perfect process. You can't just have like this pop-up business that's going to be perfect straight away. It's always, you know, it can get close at times. Like I feel like it's really good right now, but there will be something tomorrow that will make us kind of go, all right, then we've got this issue or problem now. We need to change that up. And that is it. But thank you for listening.
Excellent, thank you so much. And so I'm Amira Girgis, I'm a professor of pharmacy here at Swansea University and the co-chair for the Swansea International Race Equality Network. So when I was listening to the talks, I was like, wow. And as Camilla said, I prepared a lot of questions for you, but then I decided I'm not going to go with any of that, and I'm going to ask you something else. I think you inspired me so much, and really I felt like, wow, this is just amazing. And I know it wasn't an easy journey for all of you, like it wasn't overnight, and you talked us through your journey, which had a lot of ups and downs. So I think that's where I want to ask you my first question. Where you felt like, oh, it's not working, I feel really down, okay, I put all these efforts and it's not working, and you started to think, shall I just give it up or shall I continue and try again? So anyone would like to tell us about any of these moments?
I can go ahead, because for me, one of the biggest things that's happened is that like my storefront in Swansea Market wasn't working at all. And I've had probably 3 or 4 times where I've gone, I'm gonna stop to get a job, like it's gonna be easy to get a job, I've got credentials, I've got this, that and the other. But each time, like the universe has just sent me some sign that that's not the right thing to do. Like I've always, like the next day or something, I'll wake up there with Nemo with a huge opportunity or something, or like a customer will send me a lovely message or something, I love, you know, whatever. Like there's always something that like has stopped me quitting, like every single time, which is really nice. I don't know if anyone else has had that kind of universe intervention.
Yeah, I think there is something when you look back to, like this kind of exercise is really interesting because you reflect and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I've done all right, you know, we've done, you know, that was a challenge or we've got over that. But I would say, yeah, the same, like there is just ups and downs every day. You know, like last week for us, Jess was away, I was on my own, I was managing like double the work, and only last week I was like, oh my god, like this is crazy, this is mental, like, we need more people. And then Monday, everything's fine, you know, it's that kind of being able to control your thoughts. And I think Crystal probably have like some, you know, the way that you know, what you're talking about is how you manage your thoughts of self-doubt, even in those moments of despair. I think that's sometimes something.
Because I'm quite early stages of taking mindful time, having come from the university, and that transition is huge from going from a job, corporate job, to suddenly running your own business and doing everything. And I feel like when something is so close to your heart, which I think all of us have got, when you set your business up from a place of integrity and something that matters to you so much, is part of who you are. And I think you come up against these challenges and you do think, oh my god, like it's just so much. But actually using your why as your driver and just coming back to why am I doing this? What is the impact? And it's like what Hannah was saying, something always comes up, like someone will always tag me in something to say thank you for saying that, or you've inspired me to do this, and that's enough to keep going. It's enough to keep going. So yeah, I just try and come back to that why.
I totally agree with everything that I say. Like starting a business is really not the easiest thing, especially when you're doing an invention, when just to actually have, let's say, filing patents, the cost that is, but also having a manufacturing mold, it's another cost. So I actually found myself in a situation to some point where I had the design, but I didn't have the money to make the mold, and I tried to run a pre-order campaign, and we didn't reach the target. And it was from outside, it looked like, you know, it looked really bad. It's like, you know, like 37, not married. I moved on my brother's couch, literally. Drop everything, put my stuff into a storage, and then moved to my brother's couch for 2 years. And just applying, keep going, because for me, as it was said, understanding why you do it is really important. But I think I be on the top of the whole, how can I say, understanding why and the difference you want to make, which is very compelling personally. I like you know you'll be able to change lives. Just imagine. It keeps you going. But one thing that is an overarching thing to all of that is also faith for me, because actually there is an ease that comes with believing it's already all written. If I'm meant to succeed, I'll succeed. So I'll just take it. The days that I don't have the energy, I'll relax, because if it's meant to be, it will be. And it just brings this ease and this peace that doesn't mean that the hard time doesn't come, but when they are there, you can still kind of like find sturdiness into the storm. And so those are the two things that have been keeping me sturdy.
I really related to what you were saying about being a woman and about feeling like I'm not good enough to do, you know, business. So what would be a piece of advice that you would give to women looking to break into industry?
I'll start. So I'll say the first thing I say that it's really important to know who you are, you know, and because as I say, as institutions are doing the work, you know, like Camilla have been in this for so long, some people are here regarding doing work and race equality. As institution and society start trying to address all of those different things, the fact is human beings are always going to be human beings. And regardless of who you are, so what I'm speaking about, knowing to know who you are, because regardless whether you're a woman, whether you are a person of color, whether you are a part of LGBT community, regardless there is always of a disabled person, there will always be something for someone that they might choose to abuse you because of that characteristic. And so doing the work of actually defining yourself beyond actually that identity, we are not our identity. Doing the work on actually getting to understand ourselves and realize that we are not our identity, we are our beliefs, we are our value, what we define that we are. And that's keeping you sturdy is going to serve you in every single circle that you enter. So the way I see it for me is like not really holding on to the womanhood that we have, which is a beautiful thing, but really overarching that and actually looking at yourself as an individual. Who am I? And just strive like that. And just realize that people, you always have walls, and your thing is to keep going despite of those walls, and is you hold your peace. If somebody, I tell to my younger brother, it's like, if somebody comes to you like, oh, Youmna, you're white, I was like, are you crazy? I'm not white, I'm black. But if somebody comes to me, Youmna, you're incapable, you're stupid, I might think twice. What does that say? It says something about what I believe about myself. It doesn't say is whatever the person might think is something, but it says something about me. And so it starts with us to actually not give away that peace, but actually letting other people trigger us with every single thing that they might say. So that's going to be my advice.
I definitely agree. What you said at the end as well, I heard someone say a few years ago, and I was watching a video, it was like, if someone was insulting you, like horrible words in a language you didn't understand, you would just be like, so why is it different just because you can understand it? If you don't believe it, then it should just it shouldn't, it's still upsetting, but it shouldn't rock you to your core as such, if you don't actually believe it. But, yeah.
Something I've heard so many women talking about is imposter syndrome. I hear that word and I'm like, I know what it represents, and it's like it's hard to act when you're not an actor. Sometimes I think all of us, when you come up to do something like this, you have to speak confidently. You have to know your audience, who you're talking to, get this right. Something that I was looking at, I've got a son, and I was looking at his homework a few months ago, and he was about growth mindset and fixed mindset, and as adults we don't talk about that way. When you've got a fixed mindset, the idea is it's very limiting, and then when you've got a growth mindset, that positivity, that yes I can, I think that in the simplest form of like a year 7 homework, like that, I looked at it, and again, Crystal was talking about that, that fear. You're stretching yourself when you feel that fear. You're comfortable when you don't feel that fear, which is the majority of the time. But it's always just growing yourself, and that fixed and growth mindset is so powerful. I think for women, well, for everybody.
I think we all said as well. I said it inadvertently, but when I started this business, I think we all kind of said the same thing. What do we want to be, and how do we just take incremental steps until we become the person that we want to be authentically. And obviously, you being shy, you're not being able to stand in front of crowds, you're not being able to do these things. It doesn't mean you'll never be able to do it. I always say yes. I can't do this yet, because I will eventually, I will get it, because I've proved to myself time and time again that if it's something I want to do, I will eventually do it, even if it takes ages, I'll do it.
I think as well is surrounding yourself, that you are the sum of 5 people that you spend the most time with. There's a quote, a famous quote. And if you surround yourself by other people who've got aspirations, who have got goals, who talk about ideas and not people who don't judge, really think about those circles that you move in. And if you feel like the circle is limited, how can you find that community? How can you find a networking space with other women who uphold the same values as you? And I think there's so much to be said for that. What mentors can you find? What other women are going to help you rise? So really early on, thinking about that shift. If you're going from corporate to setting your business up, who can you surround yourself that's going to help you on that journey?
Definitely having a mentor or a role model to look at, really works. So I don't want to ask you all the questions, but I would like to open the floor to questions from the audience.
And sadly, we've probably only got time for 1 or 2. So whoever's got the best question, I think you jump in, whoever.
Regarding your social media pages, how did you grow the confidence to put yourself out there? Because it's just
100%. I have a lot to say on this. That's a really good question. And it's because I, like fairly recently, have started literally filming myself talking, listening to it back and posting it. Like that is something I could not have done a year or two ago. I think for me, like if I think back to when I started my business page, and also now I've got a personal TikTok which talks about imposter syndrome, and well, it initially started with me talking about imposter syndrome and rejection sensitivity, and how basically running a business you just face rejection every single day and you just have to get on with it. Like whereas 5 years ago I'd be like, oh no, this person doesn't like my bread, whereas now I'm like, oh okay, well, you know. But I think the only real answer is just to dip your toe in and just post something and start small, and don't worry about the engagement, don't worry about anything, don't worry about the views. Literally just post it, just do it. Put your phone away for an hour, come back, and then like just something like within your comfort zone, but or might, you know, stretch it, and then eventually you'll post something that's a bit more out there, and then a bit, and then you'll go, and then like it's just about taking baby steps, and then eventually it'll just be second nature to you to just walk around in public talking to your phone, because people do that, and it's great that people can do that now. So good luck.
Well, I can complete that. So, I personally like face-to-face meeting. I'm completely in my element into giving a talk and stuff like that. You know, being in front of human being and connecting. And what I've been realizing with Nyfasi is that people actually want to know who you are, who's behind the brand, and that has been quite, because like I do this thing, I love it, and I love sharing it in the room, but social media is just like, oh, you know. And so it's kind of like, the way I'm shifting it for me is kind of like realizing that for the business and for that to work, it's an essential thing. So it's almost like, why, once again, why is this piece important? It's important because people will adhere to the brand, they understand the value beyond, they love the product, but they will adhere to the brand that will be beyond more than, and so they will become a real advocate. So with that in mind, I managed to push myself a little bit more. But then I'm working with this fantastic lady there, she's called Shannon. She's my social media. So the work we did here today, she recorded it. We're gonna chop into small pieces. So all of these different opportunities. So for example, I don't feel comfortable because I don't have an office. I'm just in my room on my bed, literally just working. I'm not sharing any of that. That is too much of my personal space. But what I make sure is if I go to an event, like, you know, everything is recorded, so we can share a little bit of that to make sure that you create content in some way. But when we'll have offices, I'll be more comfortable actually doing the back stuff. But so it's kind of like just remembering yourself, like, you know, why do you want to be on social media? Why are you trying to build that following up? And that will enable you to actually build that confidence and actually go for it. And then the rest is just you learn as you go. It's just like,
you got this.
Yeah, you just learn as you go.
got this.
People rarely buy what you do, they buy who you are.
Exactly.
People connect with people, and when you're building your personal brand on social media, I think for me, the one thing that I was scared about was like, what are my friends going to say? Because I've changed from a marketing person into a mindset coach, like who is she to be saying these things? And that's a massive identity shift. But then when I started getting messages, even from my friends' husbands, going, really liked what you posted today, you can kind of reframe it by saying, who is it that needs to hear from me today? So you take the onus away from you and put it onto the people that need to hear from you. And that's a really useful way to do it then, because you're taking the pressure off you.
That's good. I like that.
Yes.
Say that again. Sorry.
If you do want to do a business, what would you want to do if there was an option?
That's a good question. Oh, sorry. She said, if you didn't run a business, what would you want to do as a career? What other options would you have as a career? And I'm just thinking that from running my business, I've decided that I want to help other people run businesses, and I also want to incorporate purpose into my own business. But I think what would I do? I'd probably work for a company like Welsh Ice, which is a social enterprise that helps other people start business and helps the economy grow. That's probably what I would do personally, is probably join an organisation that aligns with my values and be an entrepreneur, so someone who's an entrepreneur inside of a business. That's what I would do personally.
Yeah, the same is that, like I mentioned about trade-offs in my early sort of 20s when I got into, my first job in marketing, and just like aligning yourself with a business that that really does have values and they say the same things that you believe in. I think that's really, really important. Something I remember like I wanted to do when I was younger was work for the BBC. I always was like, I just want to work for the BBC, and I did actually think about it with the redundancy idea. I was like, shall I go and start looking at that? And I was like, well, why the hell not? And I chose a different route, but yeah, it's like finding the company, like something that excites you, something that's like, oh, these are doing, well, it could be corporate, it could be a micro business, but just something that stirs that feeling of excitement, like this is really exciting to be part of. It could be part of a university, like a university has a lot of initiatives, a lot of programs that has a lot of excitement happening because it's a hub of knowledge and people researching, and it could be anywhere, but it's you have to have that feeling of like it has to excite you to be part of it.
We have one more question.
Last-
Is that all right?
last
Yeah,
question.
please. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering, especially with Dr.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay. I was wondering, like, in terms of self-confidence and, introspection, especially because you were talking about how you ended up leaving counselling because it was not, like, raising your spirits. How do you know when to, like, strike the balance between, okay, I need to, like, empower myself and lift myself up, and actually I need to delve a bit deeper and really look into what's going on and how I'm doing it.
So you're saying how to find out when something is empowering?
How to strike a balance, how to strike a balance between, I've lost it, sorry, say it again, sorry. I'm so
No,
sorry. I'm so
it's
sorry.
like knowing it, to go for your goals and where you need to do the deep work. Is that, yeah, it's kind of like you feel that in yourself. That's why it's good to have somebody partial to help you through that process. But if there's a goal that you've got in mind, but there's a resistance that comes up within you, and it can be an emotion that you feel, like you feel it in your body, like, and ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Is it to do with something that might have happened when I was younger? Is it to do about a belief system that I have? And then you can work on that belief or that thought or that experience that happened, and that will help you work through it then. So it's normally something that you're striving for, and any resistance that you feel in the body and where your thoughts are going, and then journaling is amazing. So if you have any of these thoughts that come up, just get a notebook and just journal on why that's coming up for you, and it's so powerful because you just unravel a lot of stuff that way.
I would like to add to that as well. Like I was saying, I had therapy for 3 months, and it wasn't like deep enough. Like she wanted to talk about like things I've been through that week, and I was like, I wanted to talk about things that were holding me back and why I couldn't stand in front. I literally could not stand here and speak. Like I'd be like I'd literally just implode basically. And I stopped therapy after 3 months. But it's a few of the things that she said did send me on a path of discovering like why I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. So even though the counsel itself I didn't find that useful, like it's still, the experience still like led me down a path of doing more further research and deeper work myself. Yeah.
And you find something comes up, like when I went through the coaching process, when I was coached as I was becoming the mindset coach, I couldn't stand up and talk, like you were saying. And when I questioned it, a memory just popped up of when I was about 4, and I stood up in front of the school and I forgot my part, and I couldn't get my words out, and my nanny was at the back, and she had to come, like we were in a church, and she had to come to the front, pick me up, and take me out, and I was crying, and that was it. That was the memory that popped up, which subconsciously was stopping me from speaking in a way that I wanted to speak. So sometimes you just don't make the connections, and then something will come up, and you think, oh, that was it. And you can do the work to overcome then.
Right, thank you all. I will now invite Camilla.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you so much for the insights. It's always a real privilege to listen to such successful people, but people who have been so honest and shared their real journeys. And I hope that everyone here has had a chance to take something away from the talks. And I know I have, and I'm actually sitting here trying not to get emotional listening to some of this. So I really am truly grateful for the time that you've given up, and all of you for coming and listening today. have to dash off if anyone's got any burning questions they would like to ask. I am in true fashion multitasking with something else over there. So I will disappear relatively quickly, but I would just like to say thank you once again.